Faizan,
Yes.
thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you for having me.
So you're an interesting guy, scientist, innovator, turned almost non. You don't run a nonprofit, but do you run a nonprofit?
Yeah, we have a nonprofit arm of the.
And I'm sure that's not how it started, though, right?
It started mentoring kids for free, actually, putting on my money. So that's how we started.
So you believe in it.
Oh yes, sure.
That's the best way to prove you believe in it. Exactly. You put your own money down.
Exactly.
People ask me that all the time about this podcast. Like, I'm like, no, I just self-fund it. And then people are like, well, how do you pay for it? I'm like, well, I have a company that has clients. Like it's not like some people put money in other things. Like I just invest. Like I have what I like to invest. I'm just investing less of that, and investing into myself. Like I just look at it as like an education fund for myself.
Definitely.
All right, so kind of take me to the start of your career. What was your first real job, and then lead me to the progression of where you're at now.
Sure. So my first job was that of scientist. Actually, there is an organization in India called DRDO. I'm from India. DRDO stands for Defense Research and Development Organization, and they have a lab. It's like NASA. Like NASA here has 11 labs. DRDO has 55 labs, and one of the labs they have is LRDE, Electronics and Radar Development Establishment. So I started my career there as a research intern, developing some of the radar and systems for the government of India. And then I moved on to corporate job. Within a year, I realized that I want to go faster than I was, the opportunity I was having there. So I joined my corporate job and did that for a couple of years.
I'll have you scoot in so you can be a little closer to the mic.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. So I worked in different domains like hardcore embedded systems, communications, and then into aerospace. I've been developing a couple of aerospace systems. That's when back in 2009, December, I have come up with an innovation. And at that time, I just came from France. I was working for one of the Airbus plane, which is A350, developing a centralized monitoring system, CMS system for Airbus A350. And that's when we came back and had this innovation called GRIPS, that is Ground Reality Information Processing System. And I talked to my brother. I said, "Hey, we have this innovation, and it's solving a real big problem in aviation industry." And then that's when my brother said, "Let's do our own company there back in India." So he left his job from Dubai. I left my job from France, and then we all started a company in Bangalore, India, and developed 2.5 years later, we were able to develop a working prototype of the innovation, the Ground Reality Information Processing System. That's when we showed it to the world. It was liked by a lot of people, liked by people in industry, out of industry, got a lot of awards and all that, the fame kind of stuff, That's when, in end of 2012, I went back to corporate and came to US in 2013, by April of 2013. Before I came to US, my innovation was published in a very reputed aerospace journal. It's called Airport International and Jane's Airport Review. They are two very reputed journals. So these journals go to around 50 countries in the world. So that's when one scientist from NASA contacted us, Dr. Anders Field. He said, what you have done is really great. We want to come and see. I said, all right, come on in. So he flew back to Bangalore in India from US. He taken the review of and the demo of the innovation and got really impressed and invited me to US. Came to US April of 2013 and then got connected to a couple of NASA scientists, and they liked my innovation a lot. So a couple of scientists from NASA, Pentagon, and US Air Force, they evaluated my innovation and they recommended, hey, why don't you apply for permanent residency because your innovation is needed here, you are needed here, your expertise. And that's when I applied for my Einstein visa and got my Einstein visa. And back in 2015, I realized we when our Einstein visa was approved, we thought, okay, let's give back to the country. And we were thinking, like, how can we give back to the country? So me and my wife, so we thought, the best way to give back to a country is to nurture the future of the country, who are the kids. So let's start nurturing the kids. So we started nurturing the kids, and that's how I took up a team of 5 kids way back in end of 2015. I said, I'm going to train you to identify a real-world problem and innovate patentable solutions. So first 4 announcements I made, I said, everything is on me. I will be mentoring you guys on weekends or weekdays, evenings and all that. No one turned up. No one actually believed that this is doable. Like, oh, innovation, research, or PhDs do that. I said, no, you don't need to be a PhD to do innovation. Anyone can do innovation. So, but anyway, couple of weeks later, when I announced it for the 4th time, and no one raised their hand, and then I was walking down the corridor of the community center. I was deep in thought, like, what do I do next? No one is ready to take it for free. That's when someone tapped me on my shoulder from behind. I turned back. I said, hey, Mr. Faizan, my daughter is really interested. Can you mentor her? I said, yeah, why not? So I said, where is she? He said, she's upstairs. I said, call her. So he called her, and then I said, hey, can you form a team? Fast forward, next day the team was formed, and started mentoring them weekends and weekday evenings. They came with a very beautiful innovation 7 months down the line. I sent them to an international innovation competition at NASA, and there they competed against kids from 55 countries. And guess what? They defeated them all, got worldwide first prize.
Wow.
And that was the time we were returning back from Kennedy Space Center in NASA, and so there was 2 thoughts which was running in my mind. My first thought was like, okay, we were able to design a course module in which we can pick anyone and train them to innovator. So innovation and creativity is a trainable quality. That was one thought. But as innovators and scientists, they are very critical of everything. So I was critical of the course module. I said, what if these are just smart kids? They would have won on their own, and my course did not help. So between these two thoughts, we landed in DFW airport. And a lot of parents then, they were there. They approached me, Mr. Faizan, could you mentor my kid? Because now the concept was proven. So I was working full time at that time. I said, yeah, I can, but I can just take 2 teams. So I took another team of high school kids. There were 4 girls. They were 9th grade to 11th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th grade girls, right? So started mentoring them. 8 months down the line, they came with a beautiful innovation, sent them to the same competition again at NASA Kennedy Space Center. They started advancing from inter-round to quarterfinals, semifinals, pre-finals. And one fine day, we received an email that you're a global finalist. Come to NASA again. And I said, let's go. We all went there. Next year, we competed against kids from 55 countries, 55 to 60 countries. And guess what?
Won again?
Won again.
That's crazy.
So now my trust on this course module was gradually building up. Came back, so that I told you we took 2 teams, right? The second team was the middle school kids, 3rd grade to 9th graders. So came back and turned my attention to them, started mentoring them. They came with a beautiful innovation. Sent the innovation to another NASA competition at California. There's a competition called NASA Ames. It is sponsored by NASA Ames Research Center. So NASA Ames Space Settlement Design Challenge. It's again international competition. So these middle school kids, 3rd grade to 7th grade, they competed against 6,700 participants from 21 countries, worldwide second prize. So that was 2017. And then 2018, we took another kids from Plano, East Plano, 7 middle school kids, 3rd grade to 7th grade. Mentored them again. They came with a beautiful innovation, sent them to the same competition at NASA Ames Research Center, competed against 10,000 kids from 30 countries, worldwide first prize. So that was when in 2018, my trust on this course module was like, okay, now we were able to develop course module where we can pick up anyone and turn them into innovators. And 2 important points to note is these kids are like 3rd grade to 7th grade and in high schools. And one interesting thing you'll be happy to know is that 2 innovations made by these 2 middle school kids, these innovations are currently being evaluated as we talk right now as an innovation of national security importance by U.S. federal agencies on recommendation of U.S. Patent Office. So back in 2018, when we have this back-to-back successes, we thought, okay, let's incorporate an organization. Let's do it in a professional way. That's when DiscoverSTEM was born.
So what happened to your company?
We're still here.
Okay.
Which company? The back in India or the company which we incorporated here?
The company that's has innovations that are being used in the aerospace field.
That company back in India, we have stopped that company was actually incorporated to develop the prototype of that innovation. Once we developed that, we stopped that company because I shifted here in India, here in US.
So did you get paid from that?
Unfortunately not, because all right, that's a really interesting thing. We have invested a lot of money to develop that innovation. In fact, that innovation was loved by everyone. But the problem in aerospace industry is a risk-averse industry, right? And if you are not backed by a multi-billion-dollar organization, no one is going to look at you very, very seriously, right? So everyone was interested. In fact, in 2013, Federal Aviation Administration, they wanted to have a demo. They actually selected our innovation among various innovations worldwide to prevent and predict and prevent runway incursion. That's what my innovation does. But they said, give us a demo. And now for us to develop a working demo, a full-scale working demo, we had a tabletop demo, but a full-scale working demo for an airport, we required $10 million. And and we were in like catch-22 situation. For us to get $10 million, investors will have to see in something, order in hand. And those who have to give us orders are not giving us orders because you show us a demo.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was
yeah, that's painful.
Yeah, of course. That was. And that was when I actually realized that I'm not going to innovate anything which I'm not going to sell for more than sell for anything $3,000 and less, because this was a multi-million-dollar product, right? It's too tough selling a multi-million-dollar product until you have $1 billion backing.
Yeah.
Right. So now I tell my kids.
There's a lot of billionaires in the area. So.
Yeah. You see, of course, all the companies, aerospace companies are like $50 and $100 billion companies. And I am this one individual. In fact, back in 2014, we were the global finalist for, Jane's ATC Award, Air Traffic Control Award. And the other semi-finalist, other finalists with us were the companies like GE and Honeywell, multi-billion-dollar companies, and I was like one individual. So our innovation really had that kind of substance. But the problem is, if you are not backed properly in aerospace industry, it's very tough to push a product into the market.
Yeah, everything's a relationship game is kind of what I teach people.
I agree with you.
And so it's interesting because I teach people that your innovation doesn't matter. Nothing actually matters except who you know. And this is why terrible companies exist, because the founders or their families are well networked.
I agree with you on that to some extent.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And so obviously you can take that to an extreme and be like, well, that's not always the case, of course. But it just shows the real magic is when you have the innovation and you have the relationships. Yep. And I think when you look at the impossibleness of what Elon Musk has done, it's because he had the relationships. So like the thing about him is if you look at what he's done, which is build several multi-billion-dollar companies from scratch, bootstrapped, or nearly bootstrapped, kind of bootstrapped. You're like, how is that possible? And it's not possible in his pure innovations. It's possible in his relationships.
I will agree to that. But at the same time, if you see Elon Musk, he has a couple of innovation which has actually revolutionized the industry which he is in. See his reusable rockets. I mean, 10, 15 years from now, who would have believed that all rocket will launch, send the payload up there, and come back and straight away land. I mean, that is something very revolutionary.
Yeah, he's incredible. Or his teams are incredible. I mean, him himself is incredible. I remember in his book they were talking about he understands, he'd read every book in his library, including the encyclopedias, by the time he was 12. And so at the city's library where he grew up in Africa. And so he actually does understand rocket science, and somebody will tell him that's not possible, and he'll write out the math problem to prove that it's possible. So he's at a very, I think that's his big advantage over Bezos, because Bezos just throws money at it. Not to say he's not smart, but he's not a rocket scientist.
Exactly. Both of them have different qualities which they bring to the table. I will not say Bezos is successful just because he's throwing money, because I actually have seen one interview which they claim that it is a Bezos' first interview. And they were asking him, what is your claim to fame? What is your name? He said, I'm Jeff Bezos. What's your claim to fame? He said, I am the founder of Amazon. And why did he do that? I said, I read in statistics or information that internet growth has grown 2,500%, 2,500%, right? 2,500% over the last 1 year. So with that kind of incredible growth, there has to be some business sense. That was way back in 90s. See how visionary he was. Today, everything is on internet.
Yeah, I mean, what's so crazy about Bezos is this kind of overnight shift he did in who he was.
Exactly.
So when you look at early interviews, they're like, you're worth over $1 billion. You're driving a Honda Accord. And he gives this silly little laugh. And he's like, it's a great car.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then now it's he's got his mistress who's now his girlfriend, and he's got he looks ripped. He's got hair again somehow. He just did this shift of cool. I want to look cool, I guess. Or I mean, he just did this shift from being this geeky little billionaire guy to now a boss, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of strange. And then you have Zuckerberg, which no matter what he tries to do, he just comes across like a robot.
Yep, exactly. So that is the Bezos story. So one of my students, I mentored him back in 2017. They are at Duke University. They are twins. So Duke University right now is completing their engineering and computer science. So this summer, he got an internship at Neuralink. And he was lucky to have several meetings with Jeff Bezos himself. So
Elon?
I'm sorry, Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Elon Musk himself. And when he came back and I said, hey, how was the experience? The kind of stories he was sharing about Elon, that's really impressive. The way he approached towards his team, his entire approach towards solving a problem was really, really very impressive. I was impressed. So they both are not oranges to oranges. They're Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. They both are visionary in their field. That's how I take them, because they both have seen something and acted on it and implemented something which we failed to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all about this first break to get a paycheck.
Exactly.
And then you can self-fund it, and then you can bring on investors. Once you've proven that you can build and sell something, everything changes.
I agree with you on that.
Because that really is the breaking point. Whereas that Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk can say, now they can, of course, get big money. But at the time, when you have Musk who sells, Zip2 for $20 million or whatever. And so he's a 21-year-old kid with $20 million. So he's cool, now I'm going to build an online bank, right? And he just he has the vision, but now he has the money to execute it, which just changes everything.
Exactly. I agree with you on that. These are the two really important ingredients that you have to have a vision. Just vision is not enough. You have to have money as well. And at the same time, you have to have that credibility in the market. Okay,
Yeah.
I can do this.
And I think there's this thing of, and maybe you teach this, but once you go live, all that means is that people can buy your product. It doesn't mean that people will buy your product.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of first-time entrepreneurs come across this thing where they have their idea, they make it happen, they go live, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, nobody wants it. And it's like, no, you have to force people to want it. You have to make people want it.
That is the magic ingredient,
Yeah.
Creating the market or creating the urge of your customer to go and
Or
have that. Yeah.
if it already exists and you just satisfy it,
Exactly.
That's not to say I'm great, but that's what happened with Rabbit. That was what was so scary about Rabbit. I've started probably like 50 companies in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like 4 that are profitable.
Wow.
Which means I've had 40 SIDS that lost money.
Yeah. So that is a normal ratio in the market. Like 4%, 4 to 8% is the success rate. So you're there actually.
Man, I thought the success rate was around like 2%.
They say about startup like, okay, 9 out of 10 will fail, or 95 out of 100 will fail. So 5%, so 8% is actually pretty good.
What's interesting about that number is that's in the first year, I believe, or first 2 years. If you look at it after 10 years, it's like 1%.
Yep.
Which I haven't hit 10 years, so we don't know. But that was what was so weird. I told our whole team every day, I said, guys, we're solving a problem that exists, and that doesn't matter. Like this, nobody will ever use this thing unless they know it exists. And so we're going to build a great product. It's going to look good. The brain's going to be good. It's going to work well. And we're going to go live, and nobody's going to use it. And now we have the biggest problem we have to solve, which is getting people to know this exists and using it. And so that's how I just taught everybody, because that was my experience. My experience is that nothing just hits off. Nothing is just successful. And then we launched, and just instantly random people started to use it. Wow. No marketing, no advertising, just random people would go to a bartender or walk into a restaurant and see a sign, but typically go to a bartender, ask for a charger, he goes, use that machine over there. And we saw crazy numbers. I mean, people are so desperate to have their phone charged that at one point over 20% of all users were trying to use kiosks that were unplugged.
Wow.
Which means they had no lights on. But yet they were like desperate enough to download the app, give it all their info, load it with a credit card, load it with money, and then try to scan it.
Wow.
So that's my only time. And I think those are those unique moments. You look at Uber, that's what they had, is that Uber went live and just instantly they were fully booked out.
Yep.
But that is not necessarily a sign of success. That's just a sign of demand in the marketplace. And some businesses that are B2C like that just have that vibe to them, right? Where they just kind of take off because they solve a simple problem, or they solve a problem that's easy to understand. And that's where me, as somebody who's not super smart, I'm like all for solving easy problems. But I'm always amazed on, you set out to solve a huge problem in the aerospace industry, knowing it was going to cost tens of millions of dollars, right?
Yep.
That's brave.
Yeah, at that time it was really, really brave, because I graduated in 2005, and it was starting my career. It was like 3 to 4 years into the in the industry, and that's a time when you are busy climbing the ladders in the corporate, right? So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to leave my job, and I'm going to do this. And taking that kind of risk, there was a time I remember when in fact, me and my brother, we have put our entire savings into this company. Entire savings. We actually give everything we have to this company. And nothing came out of it. But we were okay. We were like, okay, if it is so bad, we have, at the end of it, the experience matters. We got experience. Yeah. So.
And there's, like, what I always try to tell people, and this is my case for not going to college. So this is like my big pitch to people, which is that, like, we know the end of college. The end of college is on average, you'll make a bunch of life decisions that you'll be in therapy for the rest of your life. If you want a healthy marriage, if you want a healthy relationship with God, or like whatever you believe, so on and so forth. You look at like Christians, like something like 75% of all Christians fall away from their faith when they go to college. And you look how like the amount of people that sleep with more than one person in the entire 4 years they're in college, and you look at like marriages and the success rate when people have had more than 5 partners or more than 10 partners, more than 20 partners, and like it goes like divorce rates go up. And so you look at all these things, and so I look at it from an external view, like college is bad in every way, despite I'm sure there's goods, and sometimes you have to go for what you're trying to accomplish. But for business entrepreneurs, so I'm like, the guy who's this end of the spectrum, and I fully get that. And I'm sure the answer is somewhere in the middle. But with that, I state you can spend $100,000 in college and learning a bunch of stuff that you can learn on YouTube on average most of the time, if we're talking marketing and business. But if you just had $100,000 to start your own business, you would learn it all the exact same way in like 1/4 the time. And so I think the knowledge, like I think that the money you lose doesn't matter because it's way surpassed by the knowledge you gain by getting after it.
I totally agree with you on that. In fact, I tell this to my students and their parents as well. In fact, apart from the students I mentor, we have developed course to mentor parents as well. See, if we are going to college to get a degree and then a job and get into this 9 to 6, let me use the word grind or the race. I think somewhere there is a problem with this thought process. I'll tell you why. Today, the world does not care. See, our education system is just exchange of information. You are given a piece of information, you memorize it, grab it, and then go to
examination. Regurgitated on a test.
I'm sorry. You go to examination hall and you vomit it, right? And you get a letter, and that letter A, B, C, or D defines who you are or how successful you're going to be. I don't agree to that. If we are going to college to widen our thought process, widen our horizon, right? That is okay. Education is never there to just give us information. Education is there to widen our thought process, our horizon, the way we think, right? The exposure, the relationship, the friendship we build. That is what education should be for. I always tell my my students that, okay, let us take example of 2 kids. One kid get A grade throughout the life, but after they're 12, they go study biology, and then after that, they go to a medical school. Then they go to a master's medical school, their residency, and by the time of 35, they're successful doctor making $1 million a year. That is one kid. And all this while, they have studied 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, and then they have not done what an average child should do, right? Or a happy child should do. On the other hand, there is another child who's thinking, trying to solve problems around the world. By the time he or she is in 12th, he has 5 innovations. Out of that, 2 is commercialized. And out of that, he or she gets $1 million royalty. Who is successful?
Yeah.
So the kid who became a doctor at 35, making $1 million, or the kid who is solving a real world problem and get the same money in the royalty. I'm not saying that there should be no doctors. Doctors are needed. But what I'm saying is, if you want to become doctors just to make money, there are much better, sane ways to make money.
Yeah. And I think I was always taught, just ever and ever, that like, you got to find what you love to do and then get really good at it, and then you'll be successful. And I just think that's bullshit. Yeah. I think that like, I care more about having a really nice house and using cash flow to buy investments to give me more cash flow so I can retire at 30 and just hang out with my children and like run on my own schedule and then maybe become a full-time investor or whatever. I'm not saying that's what I want to do, but like I care more about that vision.
That's how it should be.
And grinding, let's say I put in 22-hour days, I put in 20-hour days, like killing myself to do that. I care more about doing that than I do this like this thing of like, oh, I'm going to get really good at a skill, and then I'm going to do that skill for 40 years, and over those 40 years, I'll make a lot of money and be successful and all this. It's like, I think that is totally okay to do something you don't like to make money, knowing that there's an end goal of getting out of it.
Yeah, if you're taking it as a stopgap measure,
Yeah.
all right, go ahead, do that. In fact, many people might not like me saying, but let me tell you, the world today does not care how much information we have, because everyone has equal amount of information today, thanks to Mr. Google. I cannot claim that, hey, I am an aerospace guy, I know this thing about plane, which you will not know. You're going to reply me if you're a smart guy. You'll say, okay, give me 30 minutes. I'll come and talk to you. Okay? Probably in that 30 minutes, if you're doing your search right, you'll know more than me. Right? So today, the world does not care about how much information we have. What the world care is what we do with this information. How do we process the information to find a problem, give a solution, and use that? That is what the world care today. Unfortunately, our education system is still based on grab information, give information.
Yeah, the education system was designed when we had factories and we needed to be able to put people, like just plug them into a factory to install wheels, to install brakes, to like it was designed around like a commercial age, which I think is great and wonderful. For more factories in the U.S., we would fix a lot of these issues we currently have. I think this is wonderful. I think they provide great careers for people. But it was designed for. That's the reason we value like math and science more than we value like writing and art. Because we've said, well, these are worth more, and yeah, they're worth more if you work at a factory. But like when I know artists that make $1 million a year selling NFTs, I'm like, I don't, nothing in school was going to prepare you for this.
Exactly.
So I don't know. We just kind of have all this BS we say around things. I love when people say, look, college is about the experience.
Exactly.
And I go, well, that's fine, but they don't market themselves. Like they market themselves as an educational institute. Like they say, we're an educational institute. Like, okay, why does the government back the loan to go there if it's an experience institute? Like this is something I talk about all the time, but she's like, I wish the government would give everybody who wants to buy a website from my company a loan to buy that website. That would be great. Like it's this weird thing where it's like, okay, colleges are about the experience.
Exactly.
Okay. So why do they market themselves as an educational institute if it's about, like it's about all these other things? Well, no, that's not how they market themselves. So that means that they're not like doing what they say they're doing, which means they're like defrauding their investors, and their investors are the students. I don't,
Yeah, then there are some educational institutes who are actually doing that. For example, let's take an example of Harvard, right? Business school in Harvard, they have switched more towards, not more, in fact, I think 100% towards case study based education, right? Here is what has happened, a problem someone has faced. Here is how they try to solve it, and here is the result. If you are in the same solution, what are you going to do? Or same situation, what are you going to do, right? They are sort of providing experience, right? And they're doing good, right? But they are just one off, right? Other than that, most of them are what you're saying, providing something else and selling something else and saying something else.
Yeah. So I heard, you might not know, you know a lot about aerospace. Is that safe to say? Like, can I ask?
I assume so.
Okay, so maybe this is something that's nothing to do with aerospace. This is like techie, and I don't know. But anyway, I heard that Gulfstream has all these innovations that nobody can figure out. And so like one is they can fly their planes higher than like anyone because they found a way to depressurize the cabin in a way nobody has. Second thing is their windows are bigger than everybody's, and they like have special screws they like have a patent to they designed to be able to handle the force from flying high and all. Like, do you know anything about them and their process and their innovations?
When I was when I entered into aerospace industry, one of the very first project I did was for Gulfstream. And for one of the aircraft, they were developing a system called SVS, Synthetic Vision System. And I thought at that time that this was really a revolutionary system, right? What the system was is that when pilots are landing their plane or flying the plane in a situation with zero visibility, what the system does is on the screen, the system will actually show the entire terrain as it is natural, right? So the pilot will actually look in the screen and he will see what he would have seen if it is bright daylight in pitch dark, right? And this is not some infrared light camera. No. What they have done, they have actually taken some database, global database, and they are artificially rendering the terrain as it is at that location on the screen. Amazing technology. So that was for G650, Gulfstream G650 aircraft, right? So we have developed that. So I will definitely say that Gulfstream, their technology is, they try to be on one step ahead of others, yeah.
Because this is why this blew my mind when this guy was telling me this. I thought, wait, you're telling me there's a space where every company in there is double-digit billions in revenue. Like every company there.
Yes.
And this small jet maker, because when you look at, they're not making airliners for Delta and, they make small private jets.
Just
is more innovative than everybody. That blew my, I was like, how do they do that? How these companies have billions of dollars to throw at innovation. How aren't they just crushing them?
No, so they're not competing, actually. Gulfstream is not competing with the Airbus and the Boeings of the world, right? And Gulfstream has been very successful in creating their own market and their brand. And look, the point is this. The kind of customer Gulfstream deals with, these are the customer, if they trust that what Gulfstream is giving has value, they'll pay top dollars for that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what Gulfstream tries to live up to. All right, let me deliver value. Let me put my customer one step ahead of everyone, give them the latest and the greatest technology. And there are people who are going to write check for the safety because it's their safety, right?
Yeah.
So
you're saying is they're not even, nobody's competing to be innovative. It's just that one company's choosing not to be innovative and one company's choosing to be innovative? No,
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the kind of market Gulfstream has created for itself, right? In that market, if they give value to their customers, the customers will not mind paying them.
But you're saying the customer...
The billionaires, the business jet owners.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm saying on let's say Airbus, for example.
Okay.
Their customer is the airline, and the airline's like, we don't want to pay for this crazy feature you've developed. Is that what you're saying?
No, they also pay. But I'll tell you.
I'm just trying to figure out how a small company that has, they're also a billion-dollar company, but has is way more innovative than some of these enormous companies like Boeing.
So try to understand this. Both companies have different products and different market.
Yep.
Right. Now, for Airbus and Boeing, they are commercial aircrafts, right? They will invest money on those things which are required for certification and flying, right? If any aircraft is flying passengers, its safety standard is going to be at a different level, and its requirements are going to be different than an aircraft which is flying cargo or which is a personal business jet. Their requirement is different. I'm not saying that safety is going to be different, but their requirement is going to be different. The selling points are going to be different, right? So it is not really safe to compare Airbus and Gulfstream. We can compare Gulfstream with Embraer in Brazil.
Yeah, with Citation or whatever.
Citation is a small jet again. Let's say Embraer.
Okay.
Embraer in Brazil. So we can compare with them. Embraer is also doing great, but then Gulfstream try to stay a step ahead of the competition. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm a Honda jet guy. That's the first jet I get. I think will be a Honda.
Okay, that's great.
It's kind of like a lot like their cars. You know, they seem to be like have a lot of features for a really great price.
Yeah, Honda jet. Yes, they're small jet, not as big as Gulfstream, but then and
they're way more affordable.
They're way more affordable. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I drive a Mercedes, so I don't even like, I tote the line now about practical. I always tell myself every time I go, I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm going to drive a Honda Accord. I'm going to drive a Toyota Camry. I tell this every year, or every time I go by, and I'm going to go buy a Toyota Camry, just be a normal guy. Mm-hmm. And then I just drive by that Mercedes lot. I go, well, I mean.
No, these brands, for sure, they once you drive products of some of the companies, right? Let's take about the cars. For example, I'm a Beamer guy. We recently tried to change our car. We could not. Right, because at the end of it, we said, okay, let's stick with Beamer. And now we are waiting for Beamer Electric. We want to go with some electric car or a hybrid car, and they said, okay, let's wait for Beamer Electric. So, and I'm not saying that only the brand value works. Your mindset also works. I know how Beamer works. I know things of Beamer, right? I know the service center. The guys at service center is my friend. Now I give him a call and he takes care of me. Yeah. So everything there's a lot of things which combines and make us stick to a brand. Yeah.
I'm gonna take you on a test drive of Mercedes. I think you'll switch to Mercedes. It's kind of like Gulfstream, the other company. It's just
let's do that. You're open.
Why B&Ws bug me so much is their tech always seems to be just bonkers, like just not work right. Their electronics always seem to just not be correct.
Fortunately, that's what not happened with me so far. Yeah. So I just might be one lucky guy.
Yeah. Well, but, yeah, I mean, it's weird. Now, here's something that all German brands, Audi too, do that drives me crazy. None of them have remote start.
Yep.
And when I had a Ford, that was my favorite part of it. I could the remote start worked from about a mile away.
Oh, wow.
And you could set it to where if the temperature was below 70, heated seats would come on. If it was above 70, cooled seats would come on. And like you could set the temperature of the car when you remote start it.
That is something I'd love to have in my car.
And it was a 2015. Like it wasn't a new Ford. It was a 2015 Ford. I mean, and they've been doing this, I think, since like 2010. And so German cars, like my friend just bought a $140,000 B&W M5, everything, track edition, everything on it. Heated steering wheel, heated everything. Doesn't have remote start.
So me and my wife was having this discussion like, okay, why does other cars, have so much features? And my wife was like, we paid so much for this Beamer and we do not have that feature, the feature which is in Ford or in Camry. I said, you know what? Sometimes looks like to me we're paying up for this logo. So
I think that's true. It's true to an extent. Yeah, definitely it's true to an extent. I mean, some do have real innovations that are amazing. Like I don't remember who was the first brand to put like magnetic ride in cars to where they just could take every bump and be perfectly smooth and like, sometimes, but yeah, I think most of the time you are just paying for brands and looks and, B&W has a interesting thing that Mercedes doesn't, and that's that old B&Ws people deeply desire. So like a 2001, which I forgot, that's like an E46. They have like these different model M5. Mm-hmm. Still go for like $30,000.
Wow.
So people deeply desire to own, and there's never that way with Mercedes. Like there's nobody who wants people want like the 60s and 70s ones, but like nobody wants like a 90s Mercedes, but like lots of people desire a 90s and a 2000s.
I'm not aware of, I was not aware of that. That's a news to me. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know, just brands in general is very interesting. I really wish we would have seen the car industry fell. Like we didn't bail them out. Because I think it would have led to just a bunch of innovation, a bunch of people having a chance at starting their own car company. Because I just don't know if it will, like Elon Musk barely pulled it off, and now he's killing it. But I mean, barely pulled it off, just tiniest bit. And I just like, I don't know how anybody could ever do it, you know? And you just see, there's just, yeah, it just seems nearly impossible to start a car company. Are you familiar with Rivian though? Have you heard of them? Okay, so Rivian just went public at like a 50 or 8. Can you go look up what they went public for valuation wise? I think like $80 billion.
$80 billion?
They've never, maybe it's 50 billion. Hold on a second. They've never made a car.
Not a single car in the street, and the 80 billion, 50 billion, 50 or 80 whatever.
They had not one single car in the street.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what scares me about this financial climate when I see stuff like that.
Yeah, this is scary.
It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, if for that matter, let's see.
What did you say? $127 billion.
Oh,
never produced a car.
Boy. Oh boy.
Not one. There isn't. Not one car has ever been sold. I mean, they have like pre-orders of 40,000. They don't even have a ton. They have like 60,000 pre-orders. Like, not an insane amount.
This is scary. And then, you know what? For example, let's see the Bitcoin. The value of Bitcoin today. Sometimes it looks really scary to me. What is the...
But then you see what's going on in the market. You're like, never mind.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, that's me. I'm all in on crypto because I think crypto. This is how I pitch crypto to people. I go, do you think the dollar will be worth more or less in 10 years? Because my thing is, we'll keep printing it.
I think it'll be less.
There is a certain amount of Bitcoin that can ever exist. There's only a certain amount that can ever exist, and that is why it's powerful to me. There can never be more than what there's only a certain amount to ever exist. It's limited. Where every time we run out of money, we just print more.
That's okay. I'm only one. There cannot be two Mirza Faizan. Give me a couple of $1 billion. No, if that is the only value or the argument about Bitcoin being so costly that there's only going to be so much. I mean, there's so many things which are going to be less in number than a Bitcoin. Then why are they not so valuable? I might be slightly old school, but then I'm a big supporter of having some value behind money. You see what has happened, you know. Yeah. We here in dollars, here in US, let's take for example dollars. We just print our dollars, right? Our dollars are not convertible, so there's no gold kept partly or fully.
Yeah, and our coins aren't made out of real silver anymore, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Now you see what happened, you know, when this pandemic hit, you know, the government was giving money left and right. What happened? The inflation rose. So the net effect is the same. Net effect is the same because I have money now. The inflation is also high. My purchasing power is either the same or even less than what I had before pandemic when I was given money for free. So the point is, there has to be some value behind money, you know. So
well, and who really gets screwed is the people that didn't own property. Because property is what's gone up insane, like has appreciated like crazy. When we print all this money, what happens? Rents rise, everything appreciates.
Exactly.
And so if everything appreciates and you don't own property, which we close on a home Monday in Nashville, where I'm from. And so what I like to do is I like to leave the city I plan to live long-term in and then move back a year later and pay 30% more for my home. So that's what I did.
Oh, see? So I think if any money does not have any solid backing behind them, I really don't see. And see, the value for crypto right now is because in many countries it is unregulated, right? So there's demand on several parallel economies. There's demand, you know. But once all countries in the world they start regulating crypto,
I think that's when it goes even crazier.
I feel the real value of crypto might come down. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember one time I got paid in crypto for a job, and they paid me at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, and they sent me, at the time was 3 Bitcoin at about, I don't know, 13 grand a piece. I don't have those 3 Bitcoin anymore, unfortunately. But I remember thinking, this is incredible. It removes all the middlemen, removes everybody that touches the dollar. It's instant. The fees are marginal. How, like, this is the greatest thing ever. I mean, like, I think the power of crypto is when everybody starts to ban it. I think that's when it really goes crazy. Because look at like drug prices. Like, I bet if cocaine was legal, it would be way cheaper than it is now that it's illegal. Like there's this thing where it's like the second the government's trying to get their hands on it, people want more of it. So like if you look at gun sales, when the government talks about like banning ARs, they go up and to the right.
Yeah, I understand. The logic you're coming from. But what I was thinking is, see, right now, and I might be wrong in that. I'm told that a lot of crypto transaction is going where in drugs and stuff like that. A parallel economy. I was saying, say black money and all that is transferred in cryptos, paid and received in cryptos. Now, when governments start regulating, I not say banning, just regulating. Okay, you are paying someone in crypto. Whom are you paying to? Where it is going? Who is this guy? Kind of stuff, right? That's when this whole thrill about getting paid without any record will not be there. And
well, it's peer to peer, so technically it can always be there. I mean, that's the thing. They have no way to regulate it. That's why it's so beautiful to me, because I'm like a free market capitalist. So I'm just like, oh, anything the government can't touch, I'm all about. Now, they will regulate the people that sell the Bitcoin. So then you have to go through all these other avenues. I mean, it's gonna become more of a hassle. Yeah. And look, I've had massive gains from my cryptocurrency, and I've paid taxes on it. So I have fully said, hey, this is what I've made. Here's your tax bill for it. Thank you for nothing or something. I don't know. It feels like nothing. Maybe it does something. So I'm fully on the legal side of it. But I definitely think long term it goes way up. Because my thing is that I think crypto is a hedge against things being great. So if you think things are going to be great, then it's not a good investment for you. But if you think things are going to get worse, then I think it's an awesome investment.
Is it?
I mean, look at it. I mean, look at prices when pandemic hit, and then look at when like the BLM riots started happening. Like, look at all these, like when bad things happen, crypto rises every time.
And why is it so?
Because people distrust their government more. Therefore, they distrust their government-backed currency.
Okay. I see that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I just don't trust our government. Like, so then I can't trust their currency. And then the thing is we're devaluing it like crazy. Like every time there's a problem, we're just like, oh, let's just print more money. Yep. Like what would make money more valuable is if there was never going to be more printed again.
Right.
And so, of course, there's like, but that's the thing is like with gold, we just keep digging in different places and we find more gold and so on and so forth. With like cryptocurrency, or at least the way Bitcoin is set up, I think there is a limited supply. So it should be interesting. I really like, I mean, the blockchain in general is the reason I think like Ethereum, for example, is a really great investment is because all these now companies are running off of it. All these services companies run off of it. So therefore, there's like a marketplace for it.
No, blockchain definitely as a technology. I love it, right? The only because it's solving a lot of problem, this technology. I'm not a crypto guy. Some of my friends have advised me to do that. I did not venture there. And one of my friend, a very good friend, he he's from NASA. So he was telling me a couple of days back that I bought 30 Bitcoin when it was $4. Right? I said, all the best. So, but as a blockchain as a technology, it's really beautiful technology. I understand that. I understand the problem it solves. It solves some really great problems. But no, see, if cryptos, say Bitcoin, if it is not that crazy, does not have that crazy value, $60,000, $55,000, okay, $4, $5, $10 is okay, but that amount looks really crazy to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's definitely still high risk. Like in my mind, it's not. But in general, if I'm look at it from a non-bias, I'm like, yes, it clearly is high risk because you're like, how does it go from here to here so quickly?
Exactly. Without any backing.
Yeah, which is, again, I think a really a powerful and a scary thing. It is
exactly. Money should have some intrinsic value.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise.
And so, and then there says like, well, everybody's saying this is valuable. Like that's what we're doing with the US dollar. It's not really backed. I mean, we don't like, it's not backed by real things anymore. That's kind of the argument I heard a lot from people that are really into crypto. It's not like the US dollar is backed by anything anymore. It's backed by our government, but that's like, I guess is owned by China. I mean, like, like the debt is owned by China. I mean, like we're printing money that we don't even have. And so I don't know, it should be interesting. I like it because again, anything pro freedom, pro privacy, I think there's just all these things that are awesome. Like, I use, like there's a service called privacy.com and you're just able to one-click create a new credit card every time you purchase something and then charges your bank account.
Wow.
And I use it so everybody on staff can test, like when we build 150 websites a year at my agency. So when we're testing e-com sites to make sure everything's working, so they just can generate cards and type in different addresses and countries and just make sure everything is working, right? But the concept of it, like I like my rewards on my AMETs, I use my AMETs, but the concept of it is great is that you can, it's one card lot to one merchant. You set up one-time use cards. And then it doesn't even tell you, like when all your bank sees is privacy.com. It never tells your bank where the transaction came from. Now from my standpoint, when I do my taxes, my accountant's like, hey, I have all these transactions in your bank from privacy.com. What is this? So I have to go download that from privacy.com and, merge it. And, but I love anything that can relate to more freedom I'm about. And so I think that's my bet on crypto is that I think crypto is the people's money, not like the banks or the governments. And I think that's like the power of it. Because it's like what funds wars, like banks fund wars. So if you cut like banks out, like if you cut them out of the equation, they're going to be really mad and do a bunch of things to like say how awful this is. But like also now like the money's out of their hands and it's now just me and you doing business together, which is always like cleaner and better in my opinion.
Yeah, that sounds great. But I'm not going to try crypto. Not for now.
Get a wallet. I'll send you your first $1 on crypto. Get a crypto wallet. It's free. Just go to any online service and I'll send me your address. I'll be the first guy to give you crypto money.
Is it?
So back to these innovation labs, as we've gone on a little tangent on airplane companies and cryptocurrency. What are you up to now? I mean, you started this, you proved the model, and then you were like, cool, I'm now just going to make this my job?
Yeah, so exactly. In 2018, and coming back to the story from where we left, so 2018 when we incorporated DiscoverSTEM, right? The name of the company is Innovators. So when we incorporated Innovators and started DiscoverSTEM under that, it just took me around a year to realize that this is something I can do full time. And because my job was not somehow not giving me what I wanted. Once you keep on working after several years, you get more experience, but then you lose the fun in your job. It becomes a routine, right? So what I needed was challenges. I needed some food for thought, So I thought, I love this. First of all, I'm doing what I wanted to do. I want to give back to this country, number one, which gave me a new home, beautiful country, beautiful people. Second, what I'm doing is I'm nurturing young innovators, the scientists and thinkers and the problem solvers of tomorrow. That's the second thing I'm doing. And third is every time I enter into my office, there's several teams getting mentored and then, hey, Mr. Faizan, we are solving at this problem. We are here, but our innovation has these problems, these challenges. How do we solve it? That's a challenge to me. So I sit and think, okay, and we brainstorm, okay, how do we solve it? And then next team, okay, we are in solving this problem and we are stuck up here. How do we solve it? That is a daily challenge I need. I can't sleep without a challenge, be it intellectual challenge or scientific challenge running in the back of my head. So I said, this job is giving me everything. Of course, yes. Right now, I am at 1/5 of what I was making in my last job. Right? But the point is, I'm doing what I love doing. I love mentoring young kids. I love interacting with them. I am getting challenges. Every year we file a dozen patents, right? And then our innovation lab, it's a 20,000 square foot facility. So first 10,000 feet is the innovation and research, and the other 10,000 feet is we are developing product prototyping, and they are suites where this is a business incubation. We are launching products. So next month we are launching one product, right? Even before it is launched, we have some great back order, like pre-orders. These are being launched by some high school kids whom we are mentoring. So they own the majority shares, we own some shares, and we have given them free office space, free CPA support, free legal support. We have given them seed fund, and they are, doing that, launching that product. So
you have the idea to live phase covered. Is the next to start another lab that scales companies?
That is the plan. That is the next step. That's the legal, logical next step.
Yeah. And so what is your plan for that? Is it to raise a bunch of money and then have a fund that then funds them to blow up? Or is it to build in-house marketing teams and in-house?
So we have been approached by several venture capital organizations, VC and investment capital organizations. They said, can you be our innovation wing? And we will also we'll evaluate and fund your some of your companies as well. So we are in talk with that. Some of the talks are at very, very advanced stage. So once you have a great idea, this money. So let me tell you, I strongly believe on that. There are more money chasing a great idea than vice versa, right? For a great idea, there is always so much money available, right? So we do not have. In fact, I get investment inquiry interest from people once every month. At least one person approached me, hey, do you need money? I said, I'm fine right now. I'll let you know. Leave your card. I'll let you know once I need it. So, yeah.
Because I think that's where the power is. The power is like when obviously this comes from me as like a for-profit take over the world perspective, but it's like, hey, we're going to take 50% of your company, but also we're going to help you like turn it into a real thing, and then we're going to help it scale. Other than we're going to take like 10 or 20% of it and give you free office space and turn it into a thing that exists. I think that next phase is and I'm a marketer, so like the next phase to me is the exciting part.
Exactly, that is it.
And you're an innovator, so the first stage is probably the exciting part for you.
No, both, to be honest. Like first phase, I'm like doing it in and out. That's as I said, the next logical step is, scaling up. And I always tell my students, like, it is good to be 10% ownership, to be a 10% owner of a $1 billion company than to be 100% owner of a $0 company. Right?
Venture capitalists love to say that too.
Exactly.
It's very annoying.
Yeah, it is. But then But then that's the fact.
It's true.
And I love that.
Well, venture capitalists say it a lot of times to like get a better price on the share, like as far as a negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but to some extent that is true.
Yeah, for sure.
But if someone just want to use this phrase and negotiate it, as an entrepreneur, you should know how to negotiate, counter-negotiate to that as well, right? So,
how many of your innovators are entrepreneurial?
Okay, we started our entrepreneurship program, DiscoverSTEM Entrepreneurship Program last year. We have one product which is being launched next month. These are 5 kids. And then we have another batch ready. Our plan is once this system matures, and that's the reason we are actually setting up a product prototyping facility there in the same research lab, in the same vicinity, same floor. So that the plan is every year we launch 4 to 5 products.
It's got to be pretty fun to just always see new things around you.
Oh yeah. That is a challenge for me.
Because that's kind of like my favorite thing. Yeah. It's just like I love newness, which is like, so it's fun. And then I would guess the other side of it is it's like tough to see a bunch of probably products launch to to nothing, and then now it's like cool. We got to take them here and get them to here.
Exactly. So and the most interesting thing is. The challenges I see are from different domains. One team is working on gun violence. Other team is working on ocean pollution. The third team is working on greenhouse gas effect, and the fourth team is working on child mental health and child safety. So that kind of exposure of all the domain is something which is really, really challenging. You have to be on top of everything around you to be mentoring these. And these kids are really, really smart.
Yeah. So one is water pollution, right? As you said, so my understanding is that between Asia and Africa, they make up 95% of all pollution in the ocean.
Yeah.
So if you develop something, is your goal to then sell it to those countries? Or because I would think the issue is those countries don't care. That's why they pollute 95% of all pollution in the ocean.
So I do not have this exact statistics about this 95%, but then let's say for the sake of this discussion that is true. So I don't think the countries are going to really purchase that. There has to be some global body which might say, okay, you know what, I want to do this, clean this part of the the ocean. That might do. Or if some country and their governments are facing challenges and they are intellectually aware enough to say, okay, let me just purchase this innovation and put it in our ocean so that ocean is cleaned. They could be the customer, yes.
And one you said is gun violence. Did I hear that right?
Yeah. So back in 2018, a team of high school kids, they innovated a smart gun to prevent mass shooting. Really interesting innovation. I love that. In fact, this innovation was a global finalist at an innovation competition in NASA. So what they did, we started that when there was Las Vegas shooting. And they said, okay, why not we solve the gun violence? I said, yeah, let's do that. So we were doing a research and brainstorming about that. We found out that majority of the gun violence is used through rifles, semi or automatic or.
How do you determine gun violence?
Okay, gun violence as defined, gun violence like mass shooting.
Okay, because if you look at like guns, it's all pistols. 1,500 people are killed a year with knives and about 330 people with rifles. So if you look at numbers of people affected, it goes pistols, everything else, stabbing, and then rifles. So
no, we said we meant mass shooting.
Okay.
Yeah, shooting in the churches, in the schools, and then the Vegas shooting which happened, stuff like that. We're talking about mass shooting, not the gun violence. So we did our research and found out that 95% of mass shooting happens through rifles. So we found out a way that, is there a way to let the gun know where is it? Right? If the gun is in hospital, school zone, gun should know where I am. I said, yeah, why not? We have a GPS. And then say, is there a way for the gun? Yeah.
The reason why not is because I live in a free country and I'll carry a gun where I want to. That's the why not answer.
I mean,
I'll let you continue.
yeah, thank you. But I have my, I'll give you some counter arguments to that, but let me just continue here. And the second is like, is there a way for the gun to see what I'm shooting it? So we had a camera backed by advanced, artificial intelligence back image processing algorithm. So if a gun is in a place where it should not be, and it is aimed at unarmed individual, the gun locks itself, right? And we can define that, say, gun should not be in school. Now, free country, of course, free. We are a free country, but for everything we have to pay some price. With rights come responsibilities. If we are ready to enjoy our rights, we also have to be ready to take care of the responsibilities, right? So yes, we are a free country. We are free to keep our gun. But what are the responsibilities? The responsibility is that the gun should not be misused. It is our responsibility. The responsibility is that innocent should not be killed with that gun. The gun should not be in a place where it is not supposed to be. What is a gun, a semi-automatic gun is doing in school, in hospital, in church? They're not supposed to be there. That's the true freedom, right? That's how freedom has to be defined. And it is defined by some of the advocates of freedom all over the world, right? So that's what we have done that. And if when the gun sees that they are in a place, it is in a place where it is not supposed to be, it locks itself. This is the innovation we have done.
All right. So in my mind, that is stupid. And the reason I think that is because criminals get guns illegally. So, I don't know what's kind of if the idea is like, I'm guessing it's not me going into a school shooting people, right? It's criminals. So me might go and legally purchase a firearm. And when I legally purchase a firearm, it might have this GPS device or whatever on it, whatever. But criminals are going to continue to steal guns, and there's 600 million weapons in the U.S. I don't know how many are rifles. You might know that number. So what's kind of like, so my thing is like, yeah, it works in a perfect scenario, but the criminal's never going to have the gun that does that. The criminal's always going to have the gun that doesn't do that.
Okay. When someone first had this idea of landing a man on moon, I'm sure that idea might have been sound stupid. Like, okay, you are going to leave Earth. You're going to go in complete vacuum, travel to somewhere where there's no road, right? Hundreds of thousands of miles, land on a different celestial body, take off from there, and come back. And mind it, both the bodies are moving, right? That was a stupid idea.
Also phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. At that time, it would have been a stupid idea, but it was done. I'll tell you something. Remember, we said we had done a research on mass shooting. Majority of the mass shooting is not done by criminals. It's not done by criminals.
Well, by them shooting innocent people, they instantly become a criminal.
Okay, now we are playing with words.
I'm not trying to. I'm literally just.
now we are playing with words. But majority of the gun shooting is not done by criminals. Number one. Number two.
If you're shooting at a school, you're a criminal. I don't care if you're
after you shot at the school.
Yeah, but if you
after, right?
True. Yeah,
not before.
Okay, so but it's one of those things of like that's what I'm. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So, yeah. So as I said, we can play around with the words. That is that's okay. But then, anyway, come back to this. So that's point number one. Point number two is even let us say for the sake of this argument or this discussion that they are criminals, right? What if all guns are fitted with the system? All of the guns in the country, they go buy legal or illegal. They just fitted with the system.
Okay. So
and I know what you're going to say. They will buy it and then they will tamper it, right?
Well, you just do tamper proof, whatever.
Exactly. What we have done, we have made it tamper proof. This whole system, the GPS and not system, it is actually resting on 4 nuts and bolts. The moment first nut and bolt is taken out, it breaks the circuit, and the system there informs authorities. There's a GSM system, global system for mobile communication. It informs authorities that this gun at this location is being tampered.
Yep.
Right. So let me tell you, if anyone from NRA, if you're looking at this interview, don't come at us. This is a high school project. So I'll tell you what, when this innovation was a global finalist at NASA, we posted it on social media, and then there was backlash. Right? There were people from NRAs and all that, you come and you do this. And my students, they get really scared. They're high school kids.
Yeah.
They actually got scared. And I have to actually say, guys, calm down. We're not coming to take your guns. This is a high school project. Please. Right? So, so anyone in NRA, if you are looking at this, watching this, well, this is a high school project. We are not taking your guns.
Yeah. I mean, I would never, ever, I have tons of ARs, maybe 30. Mm-hmm. Like if we were to walk another 6 feet, you'll see a wall of them.
Wow.
And I would never in a million years let somebody put a device in my gun, right? It's my guns, my freedoms. I'm responsible with my freedoms. I'm a responsible adult. And then I don't know how the technology detects, whether it's like a good example is this is illegal, what I'm about to say. So we'll just say this, I've heard of somebody doing this, but I've heard of people, when they go to the hospital, they have a gun on them. And it's not because they're ever hoping to use it. Mm-hmm. It's that if somebody illegally comes to the hospital with a gun, they want to be able to defend themselves. And so defending their family is their first priority. And everything works in a perfect world. In a perfect world where every gun has it, it works. And but I get it's more, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more about the innovation in the sense of the technology they developed, the problems they solved in their mind to develop it, and so on and so forth, than it is about trying to pass legislation that forces every gun company to build a gun with this in there.
So that is it. And that said, you know what? I'm a pro-gun guy. I'll tell you why. I believe a gun is a great equalizer. One guy, 5'2", other guy, 7'5", well built. Both have gun in their hand. Both are equal. A gun is a great equalizer. I love guns. I have guns at my hand as well, and my house as well, right? But again, as I said, with rights comes responsibilities. With freedom comes responsibilities. It's okay. You don't want anything to be done to your gun. That's great. Can you guarantee that your gun will never, ever be used to kill an innocent? If you can guarantee that, you deserve your freedom. That is the responsibility you have to guarantee. So the
problem with this theory is that we live in the United States of America, where we have a Constitution, and we have a Second Amendment right that says that nothing should infringe upon. And so that is the ultimate issue, is that if we didn't live in a country that had a Constitution that we live and follow to this day, then of course. But
I agree to that.
Our country is founded on a premise that you can, that there are great responsibility. There are things that happen with it. There's great responsibility. Let's look at the guy that ran over 40 people when 5 killed recently with his car. Yeah. How do we prevent that? At the end of the day, there's evil that just exists, and how evil decides to enact its evilness is a ton of different ways.
So let me make a statement to what you said about Second Amendments, right? Before any right, there is one right. It's called right to life. Right to live.
Is that in the Constitution?
It has to be.
Is it in the Constitution?
It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, we cannot call ourselves a civilized country if our constitution does not guarantee right to life. It has to be. I am not aware where it is, but it has to be. Right. So I am not saying, as I said, I am a pro-gun guy. I have guns in my house. I'll show you some pictures of my guns. Right. What I'm saying is, I want freedom. I want my rights. Great. It comes with responsibility. For example, if you have 30 ARs, it is your responsibility to ensure that they are never going to be used to kill an innocent.
Correct.
Is it too much to ask, or is it the right thing to ask?
So it's
innocent should never be killed. Is it too much to ask?
No. So it's my responsibility, not the government's.
Exactly, it's your responsibility. Exactly.
So it's not the government's to enforce. I put things in my gun. It's not the government to enforce any of that.
No, that's okay. I understand that. Again, this is a high school project.
Yeah.
No one is enforcing anything. What I'm saying is, if we all take care of that responsibility, government has no business.
So here's where I think it's brilliant. Guns get stolen a lot.
Exactly.
I would gladly, if it was $100 a pop. The thing is, I'm guessing it runs on it's got a SIM card in it. It runs off a SIM network, and that's how the GPS works, right? Like, because my company's an IoT company.
Yeah.
So it can't just be $100 a year. It's like $100 a year. It's got a yearly price to it, which is recurring revenue. Great for a business. Yeah. So if we went to market and we say, hey, this is a tiny GPS. It'll tell you where a gun is at all time. It's secure. Nobody can do this. Government can't do this. Nobody can get into this. Exactly. Our servers are in Sweden. Blah, 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 blah. It's if somebody tries to tamper it or remove it, you'll get an alert with the last place they tampered and removed it. And you tell me, because this is something I've wanted to happen. I've actually, if you could do this, I would love.
This solution is already there. This is a part of the solution.
Yeah, because check this out.
Yeah.
My roommate at the time's bike was stolen. And so what I did was I put a little GPS on my bike, like this tiny little GPS, has a SIM card in it, $100 a year, whatever. But it's still too big to fit in a gun anywhere. And so I think that's where he thinks, like, I see this and I'm like, burn it down. You're like, it's high school students, chill out. I'm like, okay, good point. But then where the innovation goes is like, well, because fighting the NRA sounds like the worst job on earth.
Yep.
How about we just partner with them and we say, hey guys, this is a product to help you track your gun if it's stolen. And because that would be great. That means if your gun's stolen, you can track down the thief every time. And if you can make it small enough to somehow fit inside like a magazine for a pistol.
Yes. So we are putting it actually under the hand buff.
Oh yeah.
We are actually putting it that. We have the service. So do you think if we are tracking it and we are sending text, so we are sending it to the owner as well. So that is one of the additional feature of this whole system. We have this already.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. I would love to bring this to market.
Thank you for being coming on the same page.
Well, we just can't ever release this podcast. You're gonna be like, see, their plans to eventually give it to the police. You have to make it very clear the product, that it only goes between, it's peer to peer. It's you and your gun, nobody else, unless you choose to, of course, share it.
I think that's
a very marketable product.
We have a pattern on this.
Yeah,
we have a pattern on this.
So, well, good. If you need somebody to help get to market, I'm your guy.
I got your coordinates.
I've my agency, my web design company, has built more websites in the gun industry than any agency in existence.
Oh wow!
So I
know where your support on Second Amendment is coming from.
Yeah, my wallet. I firmly believe it.
No, but then this tells me that you are pro for a solid, sane kind of technology, but something which is insane, puts excessive checks and balances. Because as I said, I'm also a pro freedom guy. I'm a pro gun guy. But only thing I want to do is that I don't want my gun to go kill an innocent.
Yeah.
If anyone's coming to harm my family.
So the thing is every pro gun guy, when they hear that, go, oh, another guy trying to take, but that's what they,
No.
So the way to word that is, if my gun's stolen, I want to know where it's at. That's the way to word that.
I think that's a great idea.
If my gun's stolen, I want to know where it's at, because then that doesn't state anything to do with other people, or it should say it's my gun's stolen. I want to know where it's at.
I think that's a great idea. In fact, we have a patent for that. But before we market it, I think it's a good idea to cut this part of the interview. You're going to edit it, right?
Yeah, I can. If you want. I mean, I would like to leave it in here. I think it's a good conversation.
It is, but we are giving off a great idea, people out there. But anyways, I'll leave it on It's your show. It's your show.
Have you used hologram for IoT stuff or heard of them?
I've heard of hologram, but I have not yet used. Yeah.
They're so they run on every network. They have their SIM card will work on every network. So we're on AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and so what it allows us, and they also have partnerships with anybody in the world. So we can ship one of our kiosks anywhere in the world, turn it on, it will connect to that local network, and be ready to go. We don't have to change the SIM card.
Wow. This isn't love.
So what's the business model of what you do now? Is it purely nonprofit and these kids come for free, or do these kids pay like $2,000 for a semester to come learn? What's the business model of it?
Okay. So here's the business model. We charge for mentoring, but only to those who can pay. And I challenge everyone, go find one person who can say, all right, my kid was accepted into the program, but I was not able to afford it, and Mr. Faizan took him. No. I challenge everyone. This year itself, we have given a scholarship of $100,000. When we say scholarship, it's on my tab because we are not funded by anyone, right? So we started this year batch like last week. And I was talking to my accountant and admission or operations officer. I said, what's the number for scholarship this year? $100,000 and $500, right? So, but that said, it's self-paid for those who can afford. Kids of U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and police and first responders are always on us, right? This is our way to give back to them, right? Very, very thankful for the services and what they have done for the country. And any family, we have a threshold. Any family who is making the combined family income is less than $65,000 in a year, their kid is on us, right?
And then, do you get government grants, or
we don't get any funding from anywhere? You know, wow. Those who are given a scholarship, they are on my tab.
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So our business model. So this is how we do. We are not profitable right now. So our business model was never to make money with this tuition fee or mentoring kids. Our business model is to
take a piece of it,
commercialize these innovations. Next 5 years or 10 years, launch say 50 companies. Out of that, 48 will fail for sure, right? That's the statistics. And these 2 companies who are successful, they're going to give us back our money.
Yeah.
Right. If they don't, all right. I am happy I mentored so many kids.
Yeah.
Right. So nothing to lose here.
Amazing. How many people on staff?
It's me. I work full-time a lot. Then I have an operational team back in India. Then I have 2 mentors whom we pay on an hourly basis. So 2 mentors are there. So it's like 4 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many kids at any given time, or like the most you've ever had?
We take 60.
Okay.
Every year we get a lot of applications. We get around close to 3. Last year we got around 300 applications. But we take 1 in 5 kids because the enrollment is not free, not direct. They have to go through our selection test, which I have designed. So they have to go through the selection test.
I wonder if I would get through.
Let's try it. Come down to our lab. You're a smart guy. You'll get through. I know that, Nathan.
What's the selection? I'm curious. Like, what are the tests? I mean,
okay. So the first test is the test of left and right brain coordination. Human left brain is the logical brain, and the right brain is the creative brain. Some people are very logical, whose left brain is dominant. Some people are very creative, whose right brain is dominant. An innovator has to be logical as well as creative both, and that is possible only when the left and right brain coordinates properly when we are acting. So we have designed a course module a test module where we see how the left and right brain coordinates. 3-minute test, really amazing. Every time I give it to the kids and the parent, and parents are sitting behind, they are like, the jaws drop. Oh, wow. So next is a test of abstract thinking, test of forward thinking and backward thinking. Then creativity and innovation culture test. That's the third test. We give them a creative problem, and interesting thing is kids are allowed to take anyone's help they want. They can take their parents' help, their best friend, best teacher, everyone's help. The idea is to see how a child is able to tackle a creative problem and develop an innovation culture around him or her. And then it's followed by one-on-one interview with me. Yeah.
All right. So give me an example of the questions on the very first phase of it that detects left and right.
Okay. The left and right, when there's no questions, we show them a picture and we ask them to read it aloud. And then in the next picture, I cannot give it because that's going to take off the surprise element in which we activate the left and right brain coordination. The same picture, we do some changes in the same picture in the next slide. And now we ask them to read it aloud, and then we take the time. So that time difference tells us how the left and right brain coordinates, right?
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would definitely crush phase 2 and phase 3. I don't know about phase 1, but...
No, I'm sure you will. You're a smart guy, man.
I don't know about that. Man, I love this so much, man. It's such a risk, and you took it and you pulled it off.
Oh yeah, it was a huge risk. In fact, I remember when I first went to my wife and said, "Hey, I've decided to leave my job and do this full time, and there's going to be a financial shock. Are you ready?" And she was like, "Are you sure about it?" I was a corporate executive. I was leading the entire aerospace and defense business for a $20 billion company, and I was heading that in US and Canada. So
you made fairly good money.
Yeah, which is all spent now. So, and my wife was like, "Are you sure?" I asked a couple of my friends, families, people I trust, and people whose advices I take. I asked so many people, and with the hope that at least one will say you are doing the right thing, and everyone was like, "Are you sure?" No one was like very, very supportive. My wife was like, "Okay, if you're doing it, you might have thought through that. If you're sure about it, go ahead. But I'm not sure." So, but yeah, we did it, and thankfully,
yeah,
we are able to do it. I'm surviving.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, man. I love it. I mean, that's I'm so glad when I took there wasn't much of a risk, but when I started Rabbit, I was unmarried with no kids. Okay. And that is like now I can't imagine taking, now I have our first kid. He's 3 months old.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And I'm married, and I'm just like, whew, I don't, to take big risk again is crazy. Yeah. And so I've kind of designed where I've worked very hard at building recurring revenue at one of my companies, and then stepping away from that company with an operator in place, so I have cash flow every month. So I have a cushion. So I still always have a cushion. And then I'm like, cool, I have my cushion that will pay our mortgage and whatever, and I can go all in at whatever's next.
Exactly. That's the strategy, which we have to take.
Yeah.
Right. I did not have that cushion.
Yeah.
But the good thing was why I was able to do that, because my technical profile was such that if I'd have floated my resume in the market, I could have got jobs like this. I remember a couple of my job interviews where the person who was taking my interview, my job interview was over in 10 minutes, and they said, "All right, Faizan, we have read about you, we know about your innovations and all that stuff. We have just 2 questions." I said, "Yeah." It's how much you want and how early you can join us. And I used to give them answers. The interview was over. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's true. I have a friend that worked in the entrepreneurial center space, and he told himself, I'm gonna dedicate 5 years to this. And at the end of it, he decided to start a company. He raised $4 million in a week, because again, he was helping other entrepreneurs. I mean, like, this is what he'd been running a nonprofit. And he was like, look, when you get people to write a $100K check that they're never going to see again, it's very easy to then approach them for $1 million that they have a chance at seeing again.
Right.
And so it helped him build relationships with all these wealthy people. And then the second he left, started, and then that company failed. It failed in like 18 months.
Wow.
And, you know, timing, whatever the case is, wrong innovation, wrong whatever, wrong plan. But so there is, I don't know, there's kind of good in everything you ever do as long as you go forward. And that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
And knowing your worth, which you know, you're like, yeah, it doesn't really, like, if this fails tomorrow, like, I'll just literally go throw out my resume and I'll have a job again.
Exactly.
And even, you know, and everybody, it's so honorable. They're like, oh, you left to start a nonprofit and mentor kids. It's like, nobody can even be mad at you. It's just like, oh, that's great. You know, it's kind of be like if you're like, hey, I retired to like spend more time with my kids, and now my kids are older.
I actually left my my job at a point where actually I was doing really, really great in my career. I graduated in 2005. By 2016, I was the director of a large company, $20 billion company. Yeah. You know, next promotion due was a vice president. You know, so and I was one of the youngest. You look at the company I was working at. Anyone who is at that level is a minimum of that rank is a minimum of 16, 17, or 18 years of experience. I got into 11 years of experience, so I was actually doing really, really great. Today I can throw my resume and I can get 5 times the money, the salary I'm actually having right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but then.
So, how many companies are you going to launch this year out of there that you'll own a percentage of?
Okay. One product we are launching next month.
This won't go out until probably January or into December. So.
Exactly. No, January is what we are planning.
I'm saying like this podcast won't come out till around that date.
Okay.
So you can talk about it now if you want to.
So of course. So so by January.
Yeah.
Right. So one company I'm launching by January, and by February, March we'll start other company. Our idea is in 2022 I want to launch 2 more companies.
And what is the company you're launching in January?
This is a system which automatically disinfect door handles.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a really interesting system. So, you know, these days when we are touching door handles in public place, you know how we feel, right? These kids made this innovation. We have developed a working prototype. In fact, one of the best product designer in India has designed it, and his organization is actually developing it. We already have developed a working prototype of it, ready to launch. We are planning to launch next month. So that is.
And are you doing a Kickstarter or?
We are planning to launch on Kickstarter. Yes.
Cool. Well, send me a link. I'm a big Kickstarter guy.
Oh yeah, you do? All right.
I get burned all the time, but I just love new things. I mean, that's just ultimately who I am. Exactly. is an early adopter, like the earliest of early adopters.
No, I can. The way you were supporting crypto, I know you are an early adopter. Yeah, because so far I'm not convinced. I'm a pretty techie guy. I'm not convinced.
Crazy. We should dive more into this. Like even, I don't know, I love solving problems, and I'm sure you do too. Like I wanted, for example, our new house, we hated the front door, so it was like, okay, we got to put a new door on it. And I'm a design guy, so I designed this door. And I have this idea that all it has is a handle. It has no lock, no keyhole. It's just a solid door with a handle.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So then you're like, okay, well, how do you unlock it and lock it? Right? Like that's the issue. So I reach out to an access control company. We were a key fob. And I'm like, hey, access control for the consumer market. And they're like, doesn't exist. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll fit a commercial center. And they're like, you're going to have to run Ethernet to it. It's a whole ordeal. And then if power's cut, and of course I didn't care about the back door would still be fine. So I was like, it doesn't need to actually be all that functional. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, but like the key fob itself has got to have power, and and it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to get enough power off the doorbell. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, whatever, done. There's no wireless system. It doesn't exist.
Wow.
And so I remember that I remember the system by a company called August that goes on your deadbolt. And then with an app, you unlock it, and it lots, and you unlock and unlock it via an app, and you can set different apps. You can invite people with access codes. It's just a smart lock, but it attaches to a deadbolt.
Wow.
So I go, okay, I can have a one-sided deadbolt. So deadbolt's here on this side of the door, and then just handle, and then I'll click an app. But I'm like, okay, unlocking via an app is going to be very annoying. So if I have groceries or whatever, I'll probably always go into the garage, but there's got to be some type of usability to it. Then I see that they make a keypad. So I was like, perfect. Yeah. So what it is just a solid door with a brass handle, and then to the left of it, kind of hidden, is a black keypad. You'll type in a number, it'll unlock, you'll push it in.
Exactly. By the way, unlocking and unlocking through an app, I'm not sure whether you're aware of this or not. Yesterday, millions of Tesla users were unlocked. Were now locked out of their car because there was some glitch in the app. Right? So I don't know, like it's millions or hundreds of thousands, but then all Tesla, like a lot of Tesla users, I read this news yesterday. Right? So yeah, that is...
there's always something that has always made me sad is when people have incredible innovations and then a big company buys them and shuts it down.
Yeah. That's big fish eating small fish.
Yeah. Do you remember Coin?
It
was called Coin. It was a smart wallet or a smart credit card.
No, I'm sorry, I don't know.
So the way Coin worked is that you would load your cards into an app, and then you'd load them into a physical card. And then the card had a button on it, and you would click between it to select which card you wanted. And so it was one card that stored all your credit cards.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah. And Kickstarter, I funded it, couldn't wait. It finally comes in, it took like 2 years, finally comes in. And I just remember going to restaurants, and then the check would come, and I'd pull up my card, and I'd go, oh, let me see which card I want to put this on. I knew which card I wanted to put on. I just wanted to show off to everybody. Choo. And then it would fail 50% of the time. And they essentially released like, hey, these type of readers it goes well on, these ones we have problems. Like they knew there was a problem, but they were like working at Fitsient. And then they got acquired by Fitbit and just shut down.
Wow.
And there's been several companies that have tried it and they just kind of got nowhere with it. But I've always thought it was a really cool innovation to, instead of carrying 9 credit cards with me or debit cards and whatever, fitness cards, Kroger cards, everything, just one card, and you select it, had a little digital screen on it, and it was thin as a credit card, and just shoot.
But don't you think that is actually increasing our risk 9 times? Because if that is lost, then
it connected with your phone, so if you could have it set to where if the Bluetooth was lost, it would automatically lock.
Oh, then that is fine.
And then they developed a pattern to where between you developed your own pattern to unlock it if you didn't have Bluetooth. That had to do with how long you held it down for. So it was a short, like Morse code almost. So it was like short or long.
Oh wow!
So like mine was like short, long, and it would unlock.
Oh, amazing! That is interesting.
Yeah, and anyway, I've always just been saddened by things like that.
Yeah, so big fishes, I said big corporates. That's their comp kill strategy. And you know what? When I was in my job, so one of the responsibility I have is to see that we execute our comp kill strategy, really brutally. Yeah. So every organization, wants to keep making money, and they want to make sure that there's no competition around them, right? And that's why
yeah, in this case, it's Fitbit. So they just bought it because I'm sure the technology, they thought they could use it for something else.
Yeah, or they might have just thought that, tomorrow someone might just launch it in a watch.
Yeah.
Right? And our watch business is done. Let me tell you something interesting. You know how iPhone got into existence?
Through the iPod?
Exactly. And you know what was the philosophy behind that? So what happened is, before iPod, there was this Walkman.
Yep. I had a Walkman.
You had a Walkman.
Do you remember mini disc? The square?
Yeah, exactly.
My brothers had the CD Walkmans. Mm-hmm. My dad was in a mini disc. My dad was an IT guy, so I was an early mini disc. I thought mini discs were going to change the world.
Yeah. So exactly. So Walkman, it carry only a limited number of songs, like 10, 15. and it's so bulky. So they got this iPod, which really revolutionized the whole music industry and the music lovers as well. And it's so bulky. So they got this iPod, which really revolutionized the whole music industry and the music lovers as well. That's when Mr. Jobs, Steve Jobs, this thought came to his mind. What if tomorrow, the way the price of memory chip is going down, he said, what if tomorrow, and the way the phone was getting powerful, that was the time when early 2000 phone was getting smarter and more memory. So he thought that what if someone finds a way to keep so many songs on a phone? So our iPod is going to be out of business. They said, okay, why not we just develop a phone which has so much memory, it will keep so much song. And that's how iPhone is actually born.
I mean, but the real innovation of iPhone is the perfect software. It's the reason the iPod was so great. Because you had all these other MP3 players that came out. The problem is that with an iPod, you just plugged it in, your computer saw it and goes, sync iPod.
Yeah.
Go, wow, that's easy.
Yes.
You remember the iPod Nano, the little one that came out?
Exactly.
I just remember thinking, this is the most innovative company to ever exist, right?
No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
All the time. I mean, it was just brilliant in the way that it can detect my finger going around it to scroll.
Exactly. So when Apple's valuation crossed $1 trillion, I think it's the first company to cross $1 trillion valuation.
Now it's already at 2, I believe.
Yeah. So you know what was my valuation? What was my first reaction? They deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve it. The kind of innovation and the technology they are bringing on the table, they deserved it. Why not?
Yeah.
I love that.
I have the new MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. Incredible. I mean, their old MacBook Pro was the worst thing ever made. It was just a piece of junk. But their new one is just really hit it out of the park.
Wow.
I mean, their Apple Silicon is just incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When people get mad at billionaires, I don't get. Like, it's such a strange thing to me. It's like, I personally really enjoy Amazon.
For me, yeah. Exactly.
I like getting my stuff. Like, a good example is I ran out of tortilla chips. And my mom is coming to town, or she is in town right now, to see my grandson, my son. And she likes hummus. And I was like, oh, I need tortilla chips, and she also needs hummus. So I just got on Amazon, and then this was at 6 p.m. And at 8 p.m., I got a notification that it had been delivered to my front door.
Wow. See?
And I thought, I'm glad you're worth $100 billion. Good for you.
Good for all of us. Why you? Good for all of us. I mean, same for me. Every time...
Like, the government's worth how many trillion, and, like, they can't do anything well. So, like... Congratulating you for making $100 billion and providing $1 trillion worth of value. I mean, that's the thing. Is like it's this weird thing, like hate the rich or tats. Like AOC's like tats the rich, and it's like I would like the rich to have more money so they can do more innovative things.
Exactly.
Like, when you look at who uses, like this is my whole, like our healthcare system. Like who uses it? Fat people or people that look like me and you? I haven't had a doctor's appointment since I was 12.
Wow.
Not anti-doctor or anything. And I definitely should get one. I'm now 27. I'm sure some things have changed. I'm sure I need to like check some things. Even though I will say that when I got my life insurance, my blood work was perfect. But, wow. I mean, but if you're fat, I'm sure that's not like, if you're 300 pounds, I'm sure you have a lot more doctor's appointments, whether it's your joints or whatever the case is. And so it's like, and the same thing of like, well, should we tax people? Like if it's free healthcare, does this guy who uses it way more than me, how is that and so that's how I look at billionaires. I'm like, I actually think billionaires should pay less because they do such great things. And maybe not all of them. Like you look at like Nestle. Like Nestle is one of the worst companies to ever exist. Like they knew they were poisoning babies with their formula, and they knew, they've stolen water for their bottles, and like for the, they've polluted. They've done just a bunch of terrible things, right? There's terrible companies that exist. Some people make that case about Luxottica that owns Ray-Ban because they just keep buying everybody. And like the way they bought Oakley was like, essentially they just forced them into acquiring them. And, sometimes you see greedy, bad business things. But I think overall, when I see what Elon Musk is trying to do with Neuralink,
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm like, I want to buy a Tesla just so I can maybe hope Neuralink that will solve PTSD. I mean, like,
Not only that, in fact, remember I told you in the start of this conversation that one of the student I mentored, this summer he had a internship with Neuralink, and he was sharing an experience about a video conference with this guy who was a very active athlete, and by the time he's 19, he had a terrible car accident where he got paralyzed. And now he's one of the guy who was going to have this chip implant, and which is going to make him active again. So why not?
so crazy.
Why not see how he is actually changing people's life, positively impacting people's lives, And this guy, he has said that he's going to give his own $100 million to anyone who finds a effective way to capture carbon from the atmosphere. So, I mean, they're doing good.
Yeah.
To the world, right? So why not? They're worth that money. In fact, they're worth more power to them. That's what I say. And I'm not a very capitalistic guy, but then when you're making money while doing good, why not?
Yeah. When you look at evaluating entrepreneurs, making great entrepreneurs, I want to say that. When you look at making great entrepreneurs, do you do a mental toughness test in that?
For sure. In fact, one of our tests is designed to check mental toughness. We give them a task. We give them a piece of blocks, some abstract piece of blocks, and say, okay, you have to make something out of it. And then I tell them, this is designed to fail. We have actually designed it to fail. And what we want to see how this kid is going to respond when he meets failure. Because I don't think anyone could be a great innovator or an entrepreneur if you cannot handle failure very gracefully or with a cool head, right? So we actually do this test. It's an interesting test, right?
Yeah, because I've been thinking about this. I'm very fortunate that I have no mental health issues, and I've never had any mental health issues. I've watched. I had a company that at one point was doing. We went from 0 to 50 grand a month in recurring revenue in about 4 months. And then we lost every contract overnight because it was all with one group, and that group, it was all with one franchise, and that franchise essentially banned us.
Okay.
Not really, but kind of. They made it where it was free to use our competitor, and everybody left us in one day.
Wow.
And so I've had some pretty big blows in my life. And I've had the $100,000 payroll and no money in my account, and trying to figure that out. I've had all these just ridiculous stresses, and when I talk with other business owners, they've all faced the same thing.
Sure.
And I've thought, I'm a guy who's never been depressed for longer than 24 hours, and I've had suicidal thoughts over how tough business is. So if somebody who struggles naturally with mental health issues, they should never enter business. It will eat them alive.
That is going to be.
And so I think mental health is just something that's very interesting because it's kind of like a taboo subject where it's I just don't think that you can be a good entrepreneur if you have mental health issues. I think it will be a torment to you.
Not to you, to your employees whom you're managing, to your family, to everyone around you.
Yeah, maybe. And that's something I actually haven't thought about. Selfish me. Yeah, I've just been thinking about, and then I've been thinking about, I ran a marathon with no training.
Wow.
And, that is purely a mental thing at one point, and your legs are completely locked in, and, you've never run, but, the longest I'd ever run was 10 miles about 2 years earlier when I thought I was going to train and run one. I just stopped training.
Wow.
So I just showed up one day and just cool, I'll run this thing. And I look at that and I'm thinking man, I feel and I'm not saying I'm a great entrepreneur, but I think great entrepreneurs persevere, period. And so if you can design a test that combines physical toughness with mental toughness, I bet that'd be a good indicator of who's going to win.
So, I just remembered a talk which I delivered earlier this year. There's a leading educational institution group in India, and they invited me to deliver a talk for the students. So I gave them a formula. They were asking like, okay, what is the formula for success? And I gave them these 3 words. I said, consistency, persistency, and resistance. You have to be consistent, persistent, and resistant. And what I meant by that is, I don't like someone doing a really hard work 18 hours a day once a week. You have to work 3 hours a day, every day, right? So consistency is what I always see, and that's the defining thing between success and failure. Then persistent, you meet any hardships, stay there, keep doing what you're doing, right? And the third is resistance, and what I mean by resistance is don't take things as it is. Ask questions, right? If this is good, if something is bad, you should not say, what, this is how it is. No, why it is bad? Can it be made better? Can we find some solution to this? So if we are consistent, persistent, and resistant to things around us, I think these are 3 magic formula. I believe for anyone to be successful, or even if you're entrepreneur or an innovator or researcher or scientist or whosoever you are, I think these are the 3 words I believe. Because this is what has worked for me at least.
So let's say I'm in Nashville and I'm a parent of a 12-year-old and I want to send him to this. And I'm like, hey, I'm a rich entrepreneur. Can I just pay you to franchise this here? Is that ever part of your model, like growing it outside of the state or making it where it can, I don't think virtual words, so I won't ask that question, but maybe that is part of the plan.
Okay. So first of all, last year we have mentored kids from Australia, UK, Malaysia, Middle East, India, and 7 states in the United States.
Okay.
So our innovation lab that's how it is designed, to have a seamless integration of in-person and online kits. They are large, 7 feet by 12 feet screens, 2 big, large innovation rooms and stuff like that. That said, I have been approached by a couple of people who want to do this. They want to have a franchisee of that. I'm open to that, but there is a challenge which I'm actually working on solving, and the challenge is the employees or the trainers. Like you have to have a trainer who should get at least 12 or 20 patentable ideas every year. You call and do, interview for a best engineer in the world and say, okay, you are a great engineer. Can you code this? Yes, I can code this. I can develop this software. I can do this. I can design this hardware. All right. Can you generate 20 patentable ideas every year? All right. Let's talk later. So what I'm trying to do is right now I'm actually digitizing and standardizing the entire course module.
Okay.
So that it could be scaled up, right? So I'll take a couple of months to get that done, and that is the time when we'll be actually opening up for the franchisee model.
Yeah, because it's pretty interesting. You mentioned a point earlier, which is like a venture capital group can be like, okay, we're throwing money at ideas and some of them work. We could probably take 1/100th of the money we throw at ideas and put it towards our lab and get like a bunch of 14-year-olds and give them everything they need to explode it and have just as good of a chance of an ROI.
That's exactly what we are doing.
Yeah.
In our innovation, in fact, I'd like to invite you to visit somewhere. In our innovation lab, we have 7 research labs which we have established. One of that is neurotechnology and BCI, brain-computer interface. So we have acquired technology to capture human brain waves and convert it into programmable signals. And what we are doing right now, these middle high school kids are developing and innovating thought-controlled machines. Imagine, and by Feb of next year, Feb of 2022, we'll be showcasing a live demo of a wheelchair which will move by patient thought. Patients sitting on the wheelchair should just need to think that I have to move forward, the wheelchair will move forward. And I say, I want to move backward, it will move backward. So, and these are middle and high school kids. That's exactly what they're doing in the lab.
There's going to be there's this huge wave of kids that are way too advanced to be going to college. And out of high school can have six-figure jobs, leading teams, doing cool things. And I want to lead that with the stuff we do at Rabbit and the stuff I do at 19 and my other ventures. But I just think that's it. I just think that there's always the 1% of the 1%. And all you are is slowing them down if you throw them into a college out of an innovation program like yours.
Exactly. So, what I believe, in fact, that's the reason, and one of the reasons which we started this program, that kids are natural out-of-the-box thinkers. They're born with that thought process. The box actually builds around us when we grow up, right? As we grow up, the box keeps on building around us. And what are the boxes? Oh, that's not possible. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a PhD. I don't have the lab. I don't have this. I can't do this. These are the boxes. You just take these limitations out of anyone's thought process, they will start innovating.
Yeah.
And that exactly I do with my kids.
It's why I'm a very good communicator, because I don't BS with anybody. I don't you'll never get I've said this on tons of podcasts, but like I never ask Pierre how he's doing or what's up or, hey man, what's up? I go, this date at this time is the podcast. I don't say who's coming. I don't do anything. I don't care. I need somebody here to switch cameras and make sure the mics are good and make sure the lights are on and make sure everything's working. I don't we can talk after, we can talk before. If you want to call me, sure. But like, when people start emails, they go, hey, hope you're doing well. And by the way, like I had a guy reach out to recently. It's like, hey man, hope your son's doing well, hope your wife's doing well. Another reason I'm reaching out. And I'm like, okay, well, you've never reached out to me before. So another reason, and he's like, it was about, he needed like a recommendation for a videographer, right? And so I just always get straight to the point.
That is the way.
And I think, that we just kind of build useless blocks. And I think in some circumstances, college is becoming one of those useless blocks that we build into kids. We say, hey, this is the path to get to where you're trying to go in life.
Exactly. And I do not agree with that at all. Let me tell you something really interesting. What colleges are not doing to our kids, which they should have done. My daughter, she's 5. She is the youngest person ever to have 2 innovations, 2 patent pendings under age of 5.
Oh, my son's about to beat her. I know what I'm doing right after this podcast.
Okay. So I mean, colleges or educational institutions should be teaching our kids, how to run a business, how to think out of the box, how to find a real world problem and innovate solutions to these problems. Right. So what these colleges are doing,
teaching value is what you're saying.
Exactly.
So, because that is what it is. This is what people don't understand. If I teach Pierre how to run a business, and Pierre knows how to run a business, but if I teach him how to run a business, Pierre will be a better employee for me.
Exactly.
If I teach him how to solve problems, he will be a better employee for me. And when you're a better employee for me, you make more money every time.
Exactly. That is how it is. So I always tell, whenever my students, they come and we get into a discussion of leadership, I just tell them, let me define leadership, what leadership is. The job of a leader is to create more leaders. If you're not doing that, you're not a leader, right? A job of a leader is to create more leaders. That's how we define leadership, right? The job of a leader is not to just boss around.
Yeah, and there's a clear definition between a boss and a leader.
Exactly.
Like, I often tell people I am a boss. Like, I am not a great leader. Like, we have a mission of what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
I'm going to make sure that mission gets accomplished with or without you. That is that is depending on what you're trying to do. In Rabbit's case, we were trying to go from 0 to 100 million in 12 months. So like it was required that I had that kind of mentality.
No, that is fair enough. As long as you're straight
honest,
up,
yeah.
you're honest. That's fair enough. And because in that case, people will meet you and talk to you with that expectation. Next time I'm going to talk to you, I know you are the guy. I have to come straight to the point. In fact, I love that as well, and I'm the same guy, right? I don't like to mince words. I come straight to the point. Let's not waste each other's time. So I love that. I know I can actually relate with what you're saying.
Yeah. So. How can people connect with you? How can they sign up? How can they reach out to you? Give me all that info.
So our website is DiscoverSTEM.info.
STEM?
STEM. Discover and STEM. DiscoverSTEM.info. So, and when
does that confuse everybody?
I don't think so.
I had a .co domain, and that blew people's minds. Like people would just send an email to .com all day long. So I always
no, it does not. So here's the thing. You know what? Actually, these things become natural filters for me, right? So we have one policy. Anyone come on and contact us page. So if you go to this website, you'll find it's an ancient. We launched this website and I designed that web page, which I'm not a great website developer. Back in 2018, nothing has been updated since one. We are in the process of updating our web page. By January next year, it will be updated. So that's it. But what we do, we have a very strict policy. Anyone sends a lead, our policy is we do not follow up. We don't follow up. We never say, hey, you've sent a lead, come for interview or come for. We don't do that. Because that serves our natural filter. We need very, very passionate people. People who are passionate about innovation, doing something different, doing something out of the box. And I strongly believe that you can bring a horse to water. You cannot make it.
Well, do you let them know you don't follow up?
On the form, once you go on the form, when you put your phone number, it is written up there. We will never follow up. So you have sent an email, send us a lead. You want to join the program. Our operations teams take care of it. Whenever we communicate an email, we say, okay, you have to fill this form. So we give a deadline. You do not fill the form by that deadline, the candidature is cancelled. You do not come for information. We have information session. You don't come for information session, candidature is cancelled. If we accept someone, we give a date that this is a date where you have to accept the acceptance letter. If they do not do that, we cancel the candidature.
And as part of it, if I'm guessing, is that one bad kid can run them all.
Exactly. That's so. Here's another thing. 90% of the kids whom we don't take in our program is not because of kids. It's the parents, right? If there are parents comes like that, okay, you know what? If there are parents who are like, okay, I'm writing a check, and Mr. Faizan is going to convert my kid into next Einstein, that's not happening. I do not have the capability to roll up the check into a wand, magic wand, and make your kid next Einstein. Not happening. I say this to all parents that if you're ready to take your child as a joint project between you and us, let's do it. Why? Because your child is going to be with us for 2 hours in a week, and for rest 166 hours a week, they are going to stay with you. So you have 83 times more, impact on their thought process than we can create. And that is why we have developed modules to mentor parents as well. The name of the module is How to Develop Innovation Culture at Home, How to Nurture Your Child Creativity, right? So 90% of the kids whom we don't take because of parents. Like many times parents come to us, they miss their deadline, and when we cancel their candidature, they come back saying that, oh, I was busy. I mean, you are busy for your own kid. Imagine how busy I am for your kid.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's our policy. We cancel candidature left, right, and center. Left, right, and center. We do that all the time.
And then the people that make it feel special. So it kind of works on two ends. Exclusivity is very interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. And those 60 kids whom we get every year, these are the kids who are passionate, whose parents are passionate, and it works so great.
What's the price?
We have different programs. We have 4 weeks programs and up to 4-year program, right? And then the 4-year program, they have 16 patents pending. and they are featured on America's Top Young Innovator. And
What does that cost?
That cost the two part of this. We call it Ivy League mentorship, ILM, Ivy League mentorship, and advanced Ivy League mentorship. So Ivy League mentorship is $7,500 a year.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, and advanced Ivy League mentorship is $10,000 a year.
Wait, it's less than $1,000 a month, and
Exactly.
you'll have like patents and be featured, and
Yeah, that's why I said we are not profitable.
yeah. That's great. Great value, man. You've killed it.
Oh yeah. That's why. So we don't want to make money from the tuitions and all. No, we don't want to do that.
You want to build great companies.
We want to make money by commercializing these innovations.
Yeah.
Nurturing the kids so that we all, achieve what we are capable of achieving.
It's awesome, man. I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure talking to you.